Yay, we're live. It's always good when we're live. All right,
Yay.
well, welcome to the On Deck show here at GEG Washington on March 13th, 2017, the show where we talk about what's happening around the GEG Washington community, education, and technology at large. You can join us live on YouTube or after the show on iTunes or Google Music or anywhere else you can get the podcast. So we're back again this month. It's excellent. Justin couldn't make it, but he was good enough to find Julie from North Kitsap School District over in the Paulsbo area. My wife is originally from Paulsbo, but she went to CK, so that's a different story. We won't go there.
Won't go there.
But I do, a good friend of ours is actually a high school counselor at North Kitsap High School. So it's a small state once you enter the education field for sure. So
It is.
So Julie Paddock, correct?
Yeah. That's correct.
Well, thanks for joining us. Why don't you just introduce yourself, part of the GEG community member? What do you do? And
Well, I am the technology integration specialist for the North Kitsap School District.
Right.
Prior to that, I worked in a similar role in the Renton School District for 3 years.
Very cool.
So it's an interesting and challenging job, and you get to touch so many people when you work in this position. So I really like doing it.
Excellent. And it looks like you have a NCCE session coming up. How many times have you been to NCCE? More than you can count.
10 or yeah. I've done NCCE as a classroom teacher.
Okay.
I started out in the elementary schools.
Cool.
And so I definitely attended NCCE as an elementary school teacher, as a CTE teacher, and as a technology specialist. So
and
many years.
Why do you keep going back? What is it about NCCE that you like so much?
NCCE is an amazing place because not only do you get to pick up all sorts of tidbits from all sorts of classroom teachers and IT professionals and even sometimes from the vendors, but you get a real refresh. You come back with usually many golden ideas, but at least one that you can take and run.
That's very cool.
And so it's just a way to take a break from the daily grind of whatever else is going on, get refreshed, get re-energized, and jump in. And March is a great time to do that because you're in that spring slide.
Yeah, it's in a long haul, isn't it?
Yeah.
That January to spring break that nobody wants to talk about. Very cool. So you're doing a session at NCCE this year. Is this your first time presenting, or have you presented before?
I've presented before, but this is a little bit different area, and so I'm pretty excited about it.
So why don't you talk to us a little bit about your session here on digital citizenship?
Right. The session's called Cultivating a Digit State of Mind. And I'm doing it with a co-collaborator that I met last year at ISTE.
Oh, cool.
She lives in Texas, so we collaborate via Google Hangout and Google Docs and everything all the time. And we are both co-chairs of the Digital Citizenship the Professional Learning Networks. We're
Cool.
co-chairs of the curriculum area this year. And when we started talking about curriculum, we thought, it isn't really a curriculum. Digital citizenship is an everyday, everything.
Yeah.
It's a way to think and a way to behave and a way to be. And it's not a curriculum. And so we started bantering around these ideas. And that's where we came up with our title, Cultivating a Digit State of Mind.
Very cool. You bring up such a good point. Too often we try to, especially like in the consulting I do, we always want to do a session, or teachers want us to do a session, or parents want to know about digital citizenship. Yeah. And the idea that it's a state of mind that we're in, and it's not a curriculum that you just go through once in a while. Yeah. Especially with the way we live today, and it's not just kids, right? Like society at large is a connected society. So what are some of the tidbits that you have around the idea about being a dig-sig, if you will, or digital citizenship? What are some of your key things that you like to focus on?
The biggest thing is don't separate it from behavior. Like it is behavior. It is the world we live in. It's not separate. That's the number one thing. You can't be successful at teaching digital citizenship if you only talk about it with computers. It's not necessarily an option to take away technology anymore. That was always the go-to. We're just going to take it away and they're not going to have access. Well, that's not an option anymore because they have to have access.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, you bring up a great point. Like we do in one of our trainings that we do around digital citizenship, one of the first things that we do, and we do it with parents too, and parents, it goes over really well. But we have them we'll get it big pieces of butcher paper, and we have them write citizenship in the middle without the word digital.
Yeah.
And we have them come up with what are all of the traits of being a good citizen that you can think of. And then what we do is have them add the word digital to that.
Yeah.
And then change that mindset. And what I think it helps people understand that it's not any different. When we talk about being a good digital citizen or being a good citizen, we're talking the same thing. And so one of the things that I'm constantly wrestling with, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, is around that idea. Are we doing ourselves a disservice in calling them two different things? Are we doing ourselves a disservice to say that being a good citizen in 2017, where being connected is a part of life, and digital citizenship are two separate things? Should we not be just having a conversation about what does it mean to be a good citizen in 2017?
I absolutely agree. Yeah. I absolutely agree. There's no two ways about it. And there's a couple of really great authors out there. Jason or he's got, I can give you some links later so you can push him out, but
perfect.
He's got a great book, and that's his whole thing, is it's citizenship.
Yeah.
And that's always been his premise. And he teaches pre-service teachers up in Anchorage, Alaska, the University of Alaska Fairbanks. It is no different. And I always find when I can work with teachers, and honestly, some of the veteran teachers jump in there just as easily as the newer teachers. Because if you can make that connection and you can have that conversation, because, one in particular, he says right to his class, so if you wouldn't do this on paper, you wouldn't do it on the computer. And if you wouldn't do this in my class, you wouldn't do this in an online environment. Yeah. And, he's like, that's just the way that it is. That's the way our classroom runs.
Being respectful is being respectful. It doesn't matter where it's at. And I think having those conversations, I think where we lose, and just in my own experience, where we lose it is, we've always done a good job in education. We're talking about kids about what does it look like to be respectful to others when you're in front of them. And to me, it's at those moments when we're having that same conversation that you just say, what does it look like to be respectful to a friend in our physical classroom? And then at the same time, have the same conversation of, okay, well, what does that look like in a digital space?
It's exactly
just helping to make that connection in the moment. Sometimes
make that bridge and it's, and you'll lose teachers when you say, we need to talk about digital citizenship. Like, I don't have time,
Yeah, exactly.
If you just say, hey, we're going to be working in Office 365 this week, and here are some things we need to talk about to set up some norms. And they go, oh, okay, no problem. I'm talking about the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It just gets, it's just a different way of thinking about it. And that's what this whole session is about. And we've done some ISTE webinar. We've done an ISTE webinar previously this year. We're going to do another one in April.
Oh, great.
And we're presenting, I might be virtually presenting at ISTE, but we're also presenting a similar session. I wouldn't say the same thing. It's named the same, but every time we do a session or one of these things, we get so much rich information from the participants that I'm so looking forward to having. We're going to do an online experience as well as an in-person experience at the conference. And so hopefully we'll be able to we're going to send out some massive tweets and hopefully get people who aren't at the conference to join in on the conversation. Because the conversation and being able to have that conversation and break things down is almost more valuable than anything else. So.
Yeah. And do you then, the hashtag DigCit, is that something you made up for this, or is that a hashtag that is out there for educators? Are you using it? Are you
using it? We're using it. A lot of the digital citizenship, it's something we came up with kind of in the ISTE digital citizenship PLN. Sure. So we tag everything with that.
Very cool.
So it's a good way to search on Twitter, to search that hashtag and see what comes up.
It's the way to do it, and anytime you can get resources like that, where you can start following a hashtag when you're like, ooh, I know I'm having a hard time, or I need to do something, or I need a resource to talk about this with my kids because they're whatever's happening in the classroom. It's always great to know the hashtags to go through. So it's hashtag DIGCIT.
That's correct. DigCit.
Very, very cool.
And, I just wanted to bring up one more thing. Really look at the student standards, the ISTE student standards. There's a whole section now on digital citizenship, and it doesn't talk about it being separate. It really provides a good conversation starter.
Yeah, that's great.
For districts.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time to chat with us today, even as short as it is. I know you have a meeting, as all teachers do after school, so we'll let you go. But if you are headed to NCCE this year down in Portland, March 20th through the 22nd or something like that?
22nd through the 24th.
22nd through the 24th. I'm not going this year, so I'm a little out of the loop.
Yeah.
But, look for your session is on Wednesday, March 22nd. It says 1 o'clock.
Yep, that's correct.
Room D 139. So they've got you all set up. You're good to go. Cultivating a Dig SID state of mind. Thank you, Julie, so much for taking time to talk with us today. And we'll make sure to get the word out to everybody else.
Thank you very much, Jeff, for having me.
Excellent. So that'll do it for this show. We'll be back next month. You'll be looking for us in the GEG Washington community, where we post a link all the time. Until then, you can download us on iTunes or Google Music or anywhere else you can find us. Thanks again, Julie, and everybody have a great Monday.
Thank you.